Hi again, welcome back to the McSherryStudio. Today I'm going to just move on a little bit from some of the stuff that I've done before. Um, I'm going to attempt to paint modernist painting. Now, it's called modernism, but it's over 100 years old now. It's kind of like an offshoot of Cubism. My particular interest is an artist called Mary Swanzy. Swanzy is Swanzy. ZY if you're in America. And she was a prolific painter in Dublin. And she kind of, what I like about her is she accumulated styles. And she never abandoned them either. So throughout her career, she keep kind of going back and reusing these styles. And I kind of admire that because I feel like that myself, that I don't want to learn a style and then just sort of not use it anymore. It's just a particular foible of mine. What I'm going to do for you is paint this reference and turn it into this. So I hope you'll understand what I'm doing. I'll try and explain as I'm going along. Now I'm going to paint in acrylics because it's kind of a complex style, and it'll continue mutating as I paint along. And you'll see the way I approach it, at least. And this painting in oils could take a long time, and also you'd want it to be bigger as well. So it kind of combines a novel approach to the drawing, and also it involves texture as well. And it's kind of easier to do in acrylics in this particular instance. I mean, I love acrylics and I love oils equally, but they are different animals. But I think you'll see that they do kind of cross paths a lot. So let's get going. I'll start out by preparing my canvas. Okay, here we go. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some of this here, which is acrylic gesso. This one is Liquitex Basics, but it's the method of application which is going to be the thing. Okay, so just watch as I put it down. Oh, I'm going to apply it with this household painting brush because I want striations in the surface. Okay, but let's demonstrate anyway. So I need plenty of gesso. There, and that's quite a lot, isn't it? So, and then I'm going to paint it on. I suppose it's kind of difficult to see white against white, but I'll go in with a shot which should actually show the results more clearly. Okay. I'm just going. I'm painting on paper, by the way. Okay, so it's a paper that's prepared for acrylics, but I wanted this textured surface. I'm making random strokes all over. Now, right. So the intention is that when I paint over the surface with the acrylics. And this would work for oils, although everything takes a lot longer with oils. So not great for a YouTube video. Okay, so there we go. Let me just put that away. And I'll show you, just to see if I can get a closer shot, what this looks like close up. Okay. Okay, so here we go. I'm just coming down to an angle here so you can see those striations. That's what I call them. You can see that there's a texture now being applied. So it's like, look, there's nice large little valleys and ridges. There you go, and there's even a little lumpen part there. So this would be the surface I paint on as soon as it's dry. You will need a hair dryer close to you, I think, for this kind of work. So there you go, there's the close-up. And then we can move on to to start the painting. Okay, so let's have a look at what the palette contains. Okay, now I've let it all hang out here with the colours. Well, not all of it, but I've put a bunch more colours on that I usually do, and it's just merely because I'd like to use them, see how they go, see how they work, and give myself options. For example, well, let me go through them first. Okay, so titanium white, that's the usual one. Cadmium yellow, so another usual one. This one is, I think it's actually, it's not yellow ochre. It's, God, it is yellow ochre. Yes, it is yellow ochre. Yeah, it's a bit darker than the one that I usually use, but anyway, yellow ochre. Cadmium red, medium. This one here is quinacridone violet. Okay, I've also given myself ultramarine violet as well. Just some kind of options there. Burnt sienna. This one is called that was cerulean blue, of course. It's a greenish blue. Ultramarine blue. This is cyan. So that's processed cyan. Okay, so that's the same colour as is in your inkjet printer. And I think it's green, light green permanent. Okay, so those are my colours. Now, there's a whole array of brands here. So I've got golden. Some of them are golden. Some Winsor & Newtons, mostly Winsor & Newton. I've got a Liquitex on there. I've got a Sennelier, and I've got I think it's Brere. It's an Italian brand that I picked up at one time. Anyway, so that's the paints. Let's start into the painting and do a wash. Okay, so you can see we have the reference there. You've got the palette, and what I'm going to start out with is the wash. Okay, so I'm going to do my usual wash of burnt sienna. So I'm just going to add burnt sienna. You can see the striations now, can't you? It's being revealed by the burnt sienna wash. Okay. I always find in acrylic paintings that it takes a while for the painting to get going. In terms the paint drags a bit at the beginning. It's because it's not like oils. Oils being what they are, a very sort of movable material. You can hear my chair creaking away. Okay. Okay, that's good. So now what I'm going to do is dry with a hairdryer. Start with the drawing. I think that will go there, top of the table there. Okay, then we've got the arrangement of flowers there. Got a spray coming out of flowers there, and then that can come there like that. It's got slight wasted sort of, as in it has a waist rather than exceedingly drunk. There we go, and that can come out to the side there a bit more. There, and then we've got these drapes coming down. Okay, and then that's just a great big triangle really, coming up from there, up there, there. And my purpose in this is to keep everything angular. Okay, but how you should draw anyway is using lots of straight lines and angles. It's much easier to develop them into curves than to try and draw curves in the first place. I know I do keep banging on about that, but it's useful to know. And that flower head there. And we've got an apple here. We can turn it into a curve. That's the shadow going across there. Then we've got another bit of a, what do you call it, a segment of an apple there. And then we've got a bowl behind coming up over the table's edge there. Let's add a little bit of blue into my burnt sienna mix. And then there we go, there, and then that bowl has to come down like that. And then we've got the apples in there, just put some few dabs in there. Right, so I want to make sure this is very angular. Okay, so let's do this, because I'm not going to stick to what is actually there. One there, down there, there we've got some nice straight lines there. And I might even keep that as a kind of a hexagon, a flattened hexagon. Okay, and then we've got this kind of fish shape here, which is the leaves, the supporting cast of the roses there, and then that can come out to there, down there, bit down there, there. Okay, so that is essentially the composition. Although I do want to actually cast a shadow here. Let's make sure I cast a shadow there. Make sure I cast a shadow coming across the table here, across there like that. And the shadow does come up to the bowl there. So I've got all those. Now, I want to kind of turn it into a bit of a notan. Okay, so I'm going to grab a bit of burnt sienna and blue, and a bit of water to dilute it. And I can fill in all that area there, up to there. There's the flower heads there, that's fine. And then we've got a shadow coming up there, there. There's a bit of light coming out onto the table there. And then that comes across there like that. Okay, up there like that. And then we've got some slightly darker part there, all the way down. And then this is dark on one side, the apple there like that. I get some more blue. Push that around there like that, and there. The segment of the apple is only dark on one side. By the way, I do recommend that if you are going to paint with acrylics, don't get the student quality acrylics. These are all artist quality acrylics. It seems to be a different sort of thing than in oil paints, where certainly with the Winsor Newton, the quality of the oil paints, the student quality oil paints, is better than the quality of the student quality acrylics. So just invest in some good acrylics. The other ones will definitely frustrate you. Okay. So that's the main part of the composition. I just want to sort of darken around this part here. For a start, those flower heads are going to have to show, so I just do want to have that darker. We're seeing what we can make of this. This is material. We better put a table leg in there. Okay. And pretty soon we'll begin the process of adjusting it to make something more interesting. It's all to do with angles and lines. Now we kind of have a notan. So typical of me, a kind of a pool of light in the middle. That's what I like to do. Concentrate the eye on the part that I want to be the important bit, I suppose. The stars of the show around here. Up here, yeah. Okay, so now what I want to do is develop this into a more interesting form than we have in the actual reference. So I'm going to just darken up some burnt sienna and blue. Okay, and I'm going to work off these angles. So for example, the spray of flowers is going to come up to there. Develop that. And here we have some nice intersections that could be made. See that? These are not going to feature in the painting, if you see what I mean. There'll just be divisions between tones at the back, in the background. So we can have the table come around there like that, and around there like that. We're sectioning off parts of the painting. And then once we've got that, those are our main ones. That can come down there like that. What we've got a curve of the table there, but I don't think I really want that. I prefer to put this, to repeat this curve here, for example. So around there. I mean, this could change. And up around there. So we've got these ellipses occurring there. Okay, we'll start off with that. Now I want to put in my darkest darks. No, I want to put in some darks, really for the bones of the painting rather than the darkest darks. So let me, for a start, this here is quite dark. And then it comes down there like that. There, down to there. Okay, and put in these darks around being cast by the objects. That one's a dark there. There's the apple. Do you remember I said that it takes a while for acrylics to get going? So I might make more of those leaves. I'm already starting to make decisions about how to make this, more than the reference. Okay, so well, can we actually do something with that line there? Up. Like that. And then maybe have another. We'll see what works. How are you doing? Before we get back to the brushes, a quick reminder, don't forget to hit like and subscribe and drop a comment. I love hearing what you're working on. It keeps the community growing and helps others find these video lessons too. If you'd like some extra resources, check out the links just below. I've got ebooks that take you step by step through oil painting, merchandise like t-shirts and aprons, perfect for keeping the paint where it belongs, and prints of my own work. And you'll even find original oil paintings if you'd like a unique piece for your wall. Every bit of support makes it possible for me to share these tutorials for free, and I can't thank you enough. Okay, let's get back to the demo. Now, let me start putting in the flower heads. So I'll probably make them larger than they actually are in the reference. So white plus yellow, plus a touch of the warm red. There, like that. And now I need a shadow of it, so I'm going to grab a bit of blue and a bit of what is it? Quinacridone violet. And a bit of the green. That should make a nice grey. All right, and let's put those in then. One there, one there, one there, one there, and one there, like that. Okay, the apple. Let's make up an apple green. So white, cadmium yellow, a little bit of I think I used the green, didn't I? So I need to use a bit more yellow, a touch of red. Now I need a shadow of that. So blue, bit of red, bit of yellow, bit more blue. That'll give me a shadow of that green. I always make my shadows from the colours that I'm mixing. There. And definitely here in the bowl. And up there. And there. I'll grab some red now for the rosy part of the apple. Red and a little bit of quinacridone violet and a touch of blue. And put that in there. There. Underneath that segment and at the back in the bowl as well. There. There, that's all the stuff in the bowl. And now grab some of the nice light green. I can actually make that more green. There. And I can see it definitely across the top of that one there. And here. Okay. So thus far, I'm kind of painting this very much like a usual kind of painting. Start making a bit of light on the flower heads. There. And there. Now, the vase is very much like the flower heads. I'm going to put that in so I don't neglect it, forget about it. And then there's a lit part, very much like the light on the flowers. So put that in there, comes down there like that. Okay. The tablecloth. Now, it can't be white. I won't be painting it white. What I'm going to do is use quinacridone magenta, tiny touch of yellow, see what happens there. More yellow, more white. This is for the light part of the table. So here, a bit more yellow. Okay, put that in there. And that kind of comes down across there. And down here. And that does come up there like that. It comes around those apples. And there. Now I want to mix in a little bit of the ultramarine violet as well and see what it does. It's a paint that I've seldom used, a bit greyish. So let's see what happens in that there like that. You can come down there like that to around there. And it's the usual thing of feeling your way forward. Now I need to put that in case I forget it. That dark there. Okay, I'm going to put in the meat of that apple. Okay, and put in more ultramarine violet there, and that can go in there like that, and in there. Okay, now let's grab some of the ultramarine, bring it up over here, add a little bit of the quinacridone magenta, quinacridone violet actually. Put that across there. Down there. Let's add a little bit of the cerulean. Okay, that's nice. That can come across up there. Right, there's a light blue. Down here. Coming down the table there. Coming across here. And now the shadow on the being cast by the bowl, that needs to come in there, all the way across the table. And along here too, and up there behind the apple. Now the leaves, let's get some of the green and some ultramarine. I'm going to add in a bit of the quinacridone violet, because it really is a dark. I'm actually going to add in some burnt sienna too. I want a good dark. I'm just going to put that in as a big block. There we go, and then there. Up around there, there. Okay. Now, I'm going to start thinking about the background in a moment. Let me put that in as a shadow. Okay, so let's get the tone right first. So I'm going to grab some more burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, and then I'm going to figure out what the tone has to be. I'm going to kind of leave my lines in, these kind of, I don't know what you call them, sort of ley lines around my painting. Leave them in for a bit, untouched, and just work on the tone. So down below it could be darker. More tone, more burnt sienna. It's exactly the same process as you would employ with oils anyway. Okay, we'll do that bowl. Underneath of the bowl is kind of quite dark there. Okay. Now let's do something with some of the work on the table. Exactly the same as any alla prima painting. You're bouncing around from pillar to post, bringing the painting gradually towards clarity. There. There. And then it kind of goes down a little bit darker there. And now that's quite dark. Okay. Now let's have a look. Maybe need to do some of that background as well, up here at the top. Add a little bit of blue to that burnt sienna. I'll probably have to play the the hairdryer over this in a moment. So you'll see the hairdryer, but I'll fast forward it, of course. No, that's darker, isn't it? I want to make sure that the roses stand off the canvas. Okay, so I think let's see what happens with quinacridone violet. Okay, come down here. The thing about these ridges that are built in to the surface is that the lighter you paint, we'll do more of this later on, but the way you dry brush across those ridges in the surface will actually help you show some of the each layer of paint that you put on. A little bit will be left behind on view. You have to do it to actually sort of understand it, but do it. Okay. I'm using a very kind of light touch of colour. I'm not putting heavy paint down at this stage. You have to have a kind of a light touch. I think that's the thing. And a flat brush. See that one there? If I just put it across into that. Hang on, let's have a look there. It's a bright. Those kind of brushes are called brights. Okay. In this case, it's synthetic, which would be usual with acrylics. You can come across here like that. Okay, so we've got something to work with there. I'm going to go back and do some more of the roses. So make sure I've got plenty of the mix for the roses. So it's very bright. Very bright. Just add a little bit more in there. Okay, so there and there. And roses have a pattern to them, so there is a kind of a logic to roses. Okay, and we'll put a couple of bright bits in there. So we remember where they are. This is bright too. Light hitting the vase. Back to the tablecloth. So warm on this side. Cool in the shadows. Don't always obliterate the layer underneath. Sometimes it's worth seeing the previous touches underneath. That's got to be sculpted there a little bit, so it's more correct. They can go across here. Now, let me see if I can use a kind of a greyish colour. I'm going to go back to the background again. So using the yellow ochre and blue and a little white. Okay, and then we can have it dark. Now, can you see? Can you see the striations starting to show themselves? Yeah, go up here too. The idea is to follow the lines. There you can see some of the magenta colour coming through there. Okay. And use it elsewhere in the painting too. Grey. Over here, let's have a look. Just gliding across the top of those ridges. Now, how about some blues? Let me grab some cyan. Cyan, and add a little bit of the quinacridone into it, plus white. What would be good for showing off the roses, you see, not what's there. The same here. We can put some blue coming down here as well. Let me see what it's like with the ultramarine. Okay, maybe here. Different kind of blue. Sculpt that little vase a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to lighten up that background as a warmer pink. I'm going to add the quinacridone with a bit of cadmium. Right. And because we've departed from the reference, pretty soon you won't have to look at it anymore. I can go in there as well. the object is to make the painting the important thing, and not its fidelity. Let me see what else can I get. Let me see what happens if I add a bit of yellow ochre to that mix. Okay, so we're starting to develop into something. And don't worry that it's not exactly what you're after at the beginning, because this is a cumulative endeavor. You know, you'll you especially with acrylics, you know, you can go over. I mean, you're meant to go over in this particular technique. Okay, you're meant to go over what you've done before. You know, getting lighter all the time, or even making quite radical changes, especially with acrylics. It kind of facilitates that. So now I'm going to grab another camera and do a close-up of this. Okay, so you can see the striations now as I'm lightly skimming across the top of those ridges, which are formed by the gesso at the very, very beginning. Okay, you can see the way the paint, you just touch it onto the tops of the ridges, and the troughs are all full of the wash. Let's come down the painting. Okay, there you go. Let's get back to the details again. And changes start to suggest themselves to you as you go on. No, methods of making the painting more interesting and not just a copy of the reference. So, for example, let me put in some leaves in that are hitting the light, or getting hit by the light, I should say. Not too many, we don't need too many. Okay, there we go. And they're not all sort of leaf shaped. Do you know what I mean? The light's hitting parts of a leaf. It's not going to illuminate the entire thing, so you don't get, you don't have to put in leaf shapes. Okay, so there you've got that. Back to the flower heads themselves. There's a kind of an orangey part in the center of some of them. It's actually darker than that. Let's have a look. Blue. Okay. Like that. Okay, we better do something with the apples and the bowl. So there's a blue rim on that bowl. So let's get some ultramarine and quinacridone violet. Add them together to make a dark, dark blue. And let's put in that part there. And then we can just fill in that, because there are dark spaces between the apples. And then a dark there. My apple, the meat of that cut apple, a yellow or green, so put that in there, push that up, around there like that, and up there like that. And we can see a bit more light on that side of the apple there. Let's put in the the bright red around the apple. So grab some cadmium red. Pure cadmium red looks as if it might do it. There. And then around there. Because around here it's actually pinker because it's reflecting the cloth. There. And even here. Alright, so now I need some darker red. Dark plus the blue, cadmium red plus the blue, and plus the quinacridone violet. Give me a nice dark red for the apple in shadow. I think it's even darker than that, more blue. For that one there, that one there, around here, and around here. Now I want to do those shadows being cast across the table. We've got nice blue here. Let's make it, darken it with a bit of burnt sienna, a bit more blue, and a bit of quinacridone. Okay, and then we can put that in, going across there like that. Under there, that apple is casting a shadow, and then the shadow is being cast on that side of the table by the vase and the flowers. There. Darken that. Got even some shadow there. Right, some lighter, maybe a touch of blue in on the table, so it's not so completely uniform in colour. It should be brighter than that. Oh yeah, that's better. And very bright as it comes around here. Get rid of that edge. Come down there like that. I can come down there like that, and add some blue and some red. See what that does. Yeah, that's kind of a okay. And even here, little bits and pieces of shadow. Across the back, there's some light coming through. Okay. Okay. There's a nice warm centre to that apple there. Okay, there's some light on the edge of that bowl coming across there like that, and then a much darker but lighter than the surroundings here. Okay, I need to go back into that tabletop again, give it some colour interest. So now I'm putting a bit of a green into the cloth. So it's not all a uniform colour. It's a white tablecloth, so it's reflecting all sorts of things that are surrounding it, and we don't know what they are, but you kind of have to sort of show that you know that, if you see what I mean. To convince people that it's an optical illusion, isn't it? Now back to that very light, warm. Okay, so let me see what I can do around here. Around these flowers. I have to go back to my flat bright brush in a second. You have to make sure the brush is dry. So they do call it dry brushing, but you don't want a load of moisture in it, because it just makes you flood the troughs then, and you don't want to flood the troughs with colour, because you want to see what's underneath. And then coming across here. Yeah. And also that pink. So a lighter version of the pink. Okay, so one thing we don't have a lot of is green. So I might actually see how green performs in some of these circumstances, some of these surrounding areas. Put in sort of adjacent colours as well. So and even here. You could literally go on for a long, long time doing this kind of stuff. It's building up the effect. Once again, it's always hard to know when to actually stop, but I do like the greyish effect that's down here. So that can be darker. So let's grab a bit of a dark grey green, or keep the angular nature of the drawing. And that can go dark as well. Maybe even coming up from the corner there. Yeah. Okay, and how about, what would that look like as a kind of a pink? Around here. So graduating up from that, this area here. And here. Gliding across the top of those ridges. Now, that blue, I think it's too bright. I think it will tend towards a greyish, so hues of grey. So as we come up around here, they can be a more bluish version of that grey. And still can see some of that cerulean blue coming through there. You don't want to obliterate it entirely. And even put some of it in here. A nice green. Things suggest themselves to you as you're painting, I find. And just let it happen. Don't fight it, because it can be absolutely wonderful. Graduate that down, accentuating the shapes of the table as if they're radiating out some kind of energy. Even here. cool pinks, warm pinks. How about an orange? We don't have an orange. That would be nice. Put a bit in there too, darker than that, I think. Oh yeah, it's better. By the way, it does work better if the paint underneath is dry, and that's another good reason for doing different parts of the painting at once. You can allow a different space to set. It just has to set. It doesn't have to be absolutely dry, but what you don't want to do is revive the paint and then have to do the whole process again in one area, I suppose. See, that does need to go up to flow that line up. Okay, make a very warm pink. Pink, I said. Yeah. And all this is in the interest of just making something different. You know, you use the colours that you like, rather than sticking rigidly to what is there. Now, I think my quinacridone pink needs adjusting around the flowers. So this is a cool pink around here, isn't it? And then it can be lightened as it goes up. Might need to change my brush. A bit tight, that one. So light things next to dark things, warm things next to cool things. Yeah. And the other thing is, I want to do, I'll come to it now in a moment, but I just want to make sure that I have most of the stuff in place that I want. So just need to get that vase in properly. Then there's an orangey part to it, where it's reflecting what's around it, I suppose. Okay. across there like that. So there is a dark around some of these objects here that I need to get in. So for a start, there's a dark there. A dark there. Coming across there. Push that up. A dark there. I'm going to put in my darkest dark. I'm still going to use burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. There and across there. Pull that down. There and here, this one. Dark blue there, and then we've got the where the stem comes out of. Dark there. Comes across there and here. There's some. This is all very much in the shadow here, the shadow of those flowers in the vase. There. And then a dark green. I still have a bit of dark green up there. Put that across the back. When people sort of talk about art therapy and how it's good for the good for your peace of mind and things like that. I think it's this kind of thing that they're talking about. It's you're just going to relax into almost a torpor. It's not a complete torpor because you have to do the painting, of course. Which requires concentration. Now I'm going to go back to the tabletop. Put in some more little subtleties. Okay. There. So this is not pure white now. This is a mix. It's white, yellow, and red, and a touch of blue actually. Put that there, make sure the light comes dappled into there and into there too. And at the back, and of course here, break up those pure bits of colour. Okay, let's do something with the shadow down here. I'm going to add in a little bit of quinacridone into the blue, I think. Yeah, let's have a look at the cyan, see what happens there, and a little bit of white. Do something with this area down here. You suddenly discover that you're better off not copying the reference. It's great because you've got a better idea. Up there like that. Come around into there, and that can come around over that fold. And grab a lighter blue. And we put in some little details. Like that. Have that come around there like that. Now I need to go into the shadow of the tablecloth again. So white, blue, quinacridone, violet, bit of burnt sienna to take the brightness off it. Okay. There, like that. Ooh. Okay, and then that around there, that's going to have to be addressed. Okay, in here. Don't know what that was doing there. Have that follow the drape of the table. Okay. Come down there like that. And there's some decoration on the cloth. Some light blue. So come down there like that. Nice bright blues. Come across there like that. Now, something I would like to do, this can start, remember I was talking about outlining. Let's have a look, see what we can do. Let's get some dark blue. I think that can come down there like that. I need my hand there to steady my hand. You can come down there like that. Because we are no longer interested in fidelity. I can go in there like that. Put some of that blue there. Okay. Let's get a very dark blue plus burnt sienna. A bit more burnt sienna. I'm going to do something about these leaves. That's got to come down there like that. This needs a stalk, a stem, whatever you call it. There, and there, and then we can outline these. Bring that one out a little bit as a dark. I've abandoned the the reference now. It's no longer relevant. I'm also very interested in the Scottish colourists. I love them, particularly Peploe. And all week we've been sort of playing with these still lifes and sort of channeling Peploe. And I went to see them in Glasgow, the exhibition. I can't remember the name of the art gallery. Maybe you can. You let me know if you know it. I loved it. It was a wonderful trip. So we've got those there, and even around here. Peploe, what I should have said is Peploe did a lot of outlining, and it looks just great. Makes everything somehow vivid, and it's unreal, but that's the glory of it. So I'm kind of jumbling styles here. Now, even the flower heads. In a very modernist way. Should have lived 100 years ago. But then I suppose I would have got, I don't know, cholera or something. Oh, God. Yes, everyone thinks they'd love to have lived in a long ago, but I'm sure it wasn't all great. I will be going back into these flower heads again. You're the last one there, aren't you? And even here somewhere. That needs some red. Okay, so now let's get back to. Essentially, now I'm finessing. Okay, so just trying to get the painting to look the way I want it to look. I do need some dark actually around here. I think once you go down this path, it's kind of your paintings become less and less sort of open to criticisms of it's not right, and for it's supposed not to be right. Okay, and even these parts can be have lines added, I think. This, in fact, is the table leg, which I've neglected, so I'm going to put that in just as a great big whopping dark. And okay. Now, it's back to the flower heads. We're almost done. Okay. These little swishes. And now I need a bit of a kind of a light green. Very, very light green. Okay. Okay, let me just start working on some of these background sort of, what would you call them? I'm not even sure what you call them. Segments, I suppose. can go up in there. And finessing. Okay, so I suppose this is the kind of thing that will take forever and a day to do. So there we go. Let's put that up there. Okay, so that will do almost. Hang on, let me just see. Let's grab a dark, put it around there. Around there. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Quite long-winded. If I'd done it in oils, it would be. I suspect it would be an even longer video than this, but the things work the same way. It's just that you have to allow for drying with the oil, so it's not a kind of an alla-prime style of painting. You'll have to leave it down and come back to it in order to get the texture. But yes, it works in acrylics. You should try it in acrylics and then try it in oils as well. So I'll see you soon then. Okay, bye now.